Hi everyone, Mikey79 here and welcome to this new deck tech video of Magic Duels. As you guys can see, last time I showed you guys the Is It artifact. That was an updated deck. This is a brand new deck that I've made and it's in Naya colors, so that means that it's white, red and green. And let's check it out what I've brewed up here. Now, the the meta, in my opinion, I've been playing it for a week now and I guess it's a bit faster than before. And this is a slow deck, so that's not a very good matchup. I play a lot of fatties, as you will see in this video. But let's just start with the beginning. So I begin with an Elvish Visionary. For 2 mana we get a little creature on the board in the form of a 1/1 and we get to draw a card, so that's already pretty nice. Then another 2-drop is a Primal Druid. For 2 mana we get a 0/3 and when he dies we get to search our library for a basic land and put it on the battlefield tapped and then shuffle your library. It's not a ramp deck by the way, but I think a 0/3 is a pretty decent body in this meta because a lot of creatures are on the ground. There are also a lot of creatures in the air, of course, but a lot of weenies on the ground. So it's a pretty decent blocker. And yeah, if they want to get their damage come through, they have to get rid of it, and yeah, then you get to ramp, which is pretty nice in this deck. Then the Harness Lighting. I'm actually a pretty big fan of this card. Instant removal is great in this meta, at least that's my feeling of it. And it burns a creature away for 3 basically, and maybe you have some more counters, and then you can do some more damage. 1 copy of the Reclamation Sage, the classic. He's got a few more targets now with this expansion, so his value went up, in my opinion. So when he enters a battlefield, we get to destroy a target artifact or enchantment. Then we're gonna do some graveyard recursion, and Pulse of Murasa does that great. Like I said, our deck is a bit slower, so the life gain is significant, is important. And with this card for 3 mana at instant speed, we get a creature or a land back, and we do play Evolving Watts, so that's also something that we can get back if necessary. Then the Angelic Purge, yeah. It is sorcery speed, so that's a downside, but it does exile a lot, artifact, creature or enchantment, and you have to sacrifice a permanent. So we can sacrifice, for example, of course, the Primal Druid, or this little fellow right here, for example, or something else. Another sack outlet is Eldritch Evolution. I think it has a spot in this deck because I don't go delirium or anything, so it doesn't matter if it gets exiled. And I still tried to find a decent deck for this card, and I think I might have found it in this Naya colors. It's pretty nice. So basically we get to sack a creature for 3 mana, search our library for a creature card that costs X or less, where X is 2 plus the sacrificed creature's converted mana cost. Pretty decent. And yeah, if we get to sack one of the little guys, then we already can get this one. Gisela the Broken Blade, still an awesome card for 4 mana, double white, 4/3 flying first strike lifelink. And we do play our other part. We play the other one so that we can get Brizella. We play Bruna, so it is a possibility. Then another 4-drop, the Bristling Hydra. It's a new card for 4 mana at 2 green. We get a 4/3 Hydra, which is pretty decent, and he gives us 3 energy counters when he hits the field. And if we pay 3 energy counters, we can put a +1/+1 counter on him, and he gains hexproof until end of turn. Now that's a nice extra. So basically, you can at least protect him once from spot removal. That's the idea. If we played a few Harnessed Lightning for a low cost, we can maybe even do it some more, but yeah, I don't play that much energy counters. I don't play much cards that give energy counters, but on its own, it's already pretty decent. And it is a 4-drop, it lets me curve out a little better. We do play a lot of 4 mana cost cards. Then the Flameshadow Conjuring is a card that I want to use for since Origins. I had a little difficulty finding a good spot for it, but once again I do play a lot of enter the battlefield effects with this deck, and yeah, then Flameshadow Conjuring is an awesome addition actually. And for 4 mana we get an enchantment, and the downside is that the turn that you play it, it doesn't do anything. Doesn't do anything on its own. You need to play creatures for that. But whenever a non-token creature enters the battlefield, you get to pay 1. And if you do, you put a token onto the battlefield that's a copy of that creature, it gains haste, and etc. And then you exile it at the beginning of the next end step. So all those enter the battlefield abilities trigger twice because of this one. And you get to attack with a haste token creature that gets exiled at the end of turn. Then another 4-drop Chandra, Torch of Defiance, awesome planeswalker, +1, exile top card of your library. You can cast that card, and if you don't, you deal 2 damage to an opponent. Or you can ramp, which is pretty important in this deck as well. We can control the board with a -3 ability, and the emblem, yeah, we win the game basically. Then Nahiri, also still very decent planeswalker, although in my opinion, I know the opinions are divided under that one, but I still like her. She filters our hand with the +2 ability. The -2 ability gets rid of an enchantment, a tapped artifact or a tapped creature. And the -8 ability also in this deck is pretty strong because we can search for a nice creature or artifact or whatever that we need. Then the Archangel Avacyn, still also a pretty damn good card. For 5 mana we get a 4/4, everything of us gets indestructible, at least the creatures do. And then when a non-angel creature control dies, she flips at the next turn. And then we get the Purifier, 6/5, and when she transforms into this side, she deals 3 damage to each other creature and opponent. Yeah, still nice card, 5 mana, pretty heavy beater for that mana cost. Then another new card, Cataclysmic Gearhulk, for 5 mana. We get a 4/5 body with Visions, which is already pretty nice. And when he enters the battlefield, yeah, we get each player chooses an artifact, a creature, an enchantment, and a planeswalker from among the non-land permanents he or she controls, and then sacrifice the rest. Now, yeah, that's pretty good. It's actually the only hard removal that I use. Yeah, the downside of course is that your opponent gets to choose what he keeps, so the biggest threat will still be out there, but it contains the battlefield. It keeps things under control, and you can abuse them, you can recur them, you can do a lot of things with them in this deck. Also, he's an artifact, so if you select him as the artifact that you're going to keep, and you have another big creature, and you select that one as a creature to keep, you basically have 2 creatures on the battlefield, where usually your opponent will only have 1. So normally you should have board advantage. And for 5 mana it's a decent body. Then the green my god, the green Gearhulk here, I can't speak it, so let's just skip that. For 5 mana, 2 green, it's a 4/4, but when he enters the battlefield, he's also got trample, but when he enters the battlefield, we get to distribute 4 +1/+1 counters or among any number of target creatures you control. So you can also put it on him. So basically, this is a 8/8 trample creature for 5 mana, which is pretty awesome. And once again, if you can recur him and abuse him and whatever, then it becomes pretty nuts. Then Nisa, Vital Force, for 5 mana. We get a pretty awesome planeswalker here. +1, untap target land. It becomes a 5/5 until our next turn, so you can also use it to defend. It's still a land, so you can tap it if necessary for mana. And the -3 ability we get to return a target permanent card from your graveyard to your hand, so that's another graveyard abuse ability. And then the -6 is we get an emblem whenever a land enters the battlefield under our control, we get to draw a card. It's not game winning, that emblem, but it, yeah, card advantage basically wins you the game. So then of course the red Gearhulk, since it's the best one, or at least one of the best. For 6 mana we get a 6/6 first strike, and when he enters the battlefield, target opponent lets us draw 3 cards, or he lets us put those 3 cards in our graveyard, but then those cards do damage to him equally to the converted mana cost of those cards. Yeah, I don't need to say, if you can abuse this and bring it back, and with the Flameshadow Conjuring, yeah, it's when you get a time when you can survive the early game, this deck can go pretty nuts. It does some crazy things, and there are so much synergies and abilities and combos, and it's pretty fun. But it's sometimes it's a lot. You gotta think it really good through, but it is pretty fun. That's the way I like to play. I'm not pretty good at it, I admit, but it is fun. Then the Greenwarden of Murasa, another come into play ability. Yeah, for 6 mana we get a 5/4, but of course we wanna abuse the graveyard some more, and this guy does it just great. It's just a fat Eternal Witness, awesome card. Then another enter the battlefield creature, the Woodland here, 6 mana. We get to search a library for a non-legendary green creature card with converted mana cost 3 or less, and put it onto the battlefield. Now we can't search that much. We can search the Visionary, the Druid, and the Reclamation Sage, and that's it. So no heavy abuses here, but it is decent because, yeah, even with the Visionary we get to draw an extra card, which is always nice. Then we don't have much air presence, to say it that way. So I play this Hydra, also a come in play effect. We get to search our library for a land card when it comes into play. It doesn't have to be a basic land, can be any land. And then we get to put it onto the battlefield tapped and shuffle our library. And he has reach, and his power and toughness are equal to the lands that you have. So at the very least that should be 7, because you play this on your 6th turn if you don't ramp. And yeah, then he is going to fetch you your 7th land, and then he's a 7/7 reach, which is pretty nuts. Then another graveyard abuser, one of the few that doesn't have a come into play effect, but yeah, basically you play her and play a land right away, so it's kind of the same thing, because you got priority. Your opponent can't react to it until you play the land. And when you play that land, you can go into your graveyard, get a non-land permanent card back, and if it's a plains, it comes to the battlefield right away. So pretty awesome. And then of course Bruna, yeah, she does have a come into play effect. Yeah, and you can return a target angel or human from your graveyard to the battlefield. So she has synergy with the Emeria Sheperd, or with, of course, Avacyn, or Gisela, or maybe one of the cheaper human here, the Primal Druid. And that's it for the deck. Now the mana, I play 3 plains, 3 mountains, 4 forests, 2 of the needles, the Cinder Glades, all 2 copies, Camopy Vista 2 copies, the Rootbound Crag 2 copies, the Sunpetal Grove 2 copies, and 4 Evolving Wilds to fix my mana. And that's it, guys. That's the deck. It's pretty fun. It's difficult in the beginning. I'm not gonna lie about that. Your early game, you're going to have to survive a bit there. Green mana in your hand, in your opening hand, is the most important, so you can play those early creatures, or that you can, that it's necessary that you can play that. The Harnessed Lightning is something that I put in afterwards. I didn't play any removal at the beginning outside of this one, the Angelic Purge, but you need some spot removal at instant speed. It's just necessary. You just need that. But once you're at 4 mana, you should be starting to defend yourself, and when you get to 5 you can play the Gearhulks or Nissa, and then you're about there. So yeah, it's just a fun deck. It's not a top tier deck or anything. Maybe I can make something better out of it when time evolves, but like it is now, it's pretty fun. It's got a great fun factor for me. If we see the curve, pretty weird curve. So we do play almost most of the deck is green. 20 cards are green, then followed by 9 white, and then 8 red cards. Pretty weird curve, I admit. 11 2-drops, 11 2-drops, 8 3-drops. It goes down like that. 7 4-drops, 4 5-drops, and then 6 or even more 6 cost cards. Yeah, so there it goes a little bit back up again. So you see, it's a slow deck, absolutely. But hey, there are players that like that, and I'm one of those players. So it's not because the meta is super aggressive that I am only going to play aggressive decks. No, thank you. I like aggressive decks from time to time, but I need these kind of shenanigans and control and creature decks, and I just like to play fatties. Anyway, that's the video for the day, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. Try it out, it's pretty fun. And I hope I see you guys at the gameplay video. Bye bye, guys. See you later. Have a nice day.